people make claims that their teacher is best, and some of them may even be right. But I'm not here to make claims. He very well may not be the best teacher, but he's the best teacher I've ever had. He may not take his students on magical field trips like in the Magic School Bus, and he hasn't saved my life like in Harry Potter. He has impacted my life. His name is Eric Kallenborn, and although I've only had him this year, he has become my favorite teacher. He's helped me expand my worldview and taught me not to just think of how things make me feel, but to think about how others feel. He's funny, kind, and and always listens to everyone in class. He may seem like an ordinary teacher to most people, and maybe even most students, but to me, he's an extraordinary teacher. Not only have I learned things about English, which is why I met him, but I've been introduced to new music and a new style of teaching. Unlike most teachers, we don't just do work and then leave. We get to interact with not only each other, but him in a setting that he has made better than average. In most classrooms, the walls are filled with simple cliches about trying your best and the power of learning. But Mr. Kallenborn's walls are filled with comic book and TV show posters, which is a lot easier on the eyes if you ask me. He not only expresses his opinion, but listens to yours when interacting with you. He also tries to prepare you for what's ahead by incorporating things that are similar to what we would do in AP next year. His class is the highlight of my day. I could be having a bad day, but once I get to his class, my day is better for at least that period. Also, he actually remembers what you say. Like one day I was talking about how I couldn't find a book to read, and within that week he found me a book to read, and I hadn't even asked him to. I don't have to convince you that he's the best teacher, because to me he already is, but I'm doing this because I believe he deserves something for being an amazing teacher and shaping the lives of students and trying to give us a better future.
An age-old grievance repetitively uttered by many pupils is often an erroneous accusation. The infamous and paradoxical pronouncement that one's teacher doesn't teach. Such blasphemy is unheard of in the hallways of the quaint Independence Junior High, home of the indisputably outgoing educator Pamela Peters. The homey environment in which she spends upwards of 10 hours per day is more to every student than just 4 walls, a blackboard, and a set of desks. It is a hotbed of creativity that entices students to return years after graduation. I am one with such great fortune. Pamela Peters establishes expectations that are to be not only met, but exceeded with analytical thinking that is instilled in all of her students after their formal learning has concluded. Initially intimidating, Ms. Peters has a way of reaching even those who do not wish to learn. I speak from experience. She employs tremendous passion with regard to her students achieving and surpassing the standards that she has set. A 7th and 8th grade teacher by trade, Ms. Peters has adapted a course with such rigor comparable to a college class. In her class, students engage in a number of sizable tasks that are seemingly unconquerable. However, extensive preparations and hands-on tutoring at any time of availability assist students in understanding not only grammatical conventions, but the in-depth analysis of the most formidable works. Through such projects as a college-level MLA research paper and comprehensive dissection of Shakespearean works that led to students writing original sonnets, Ms. Peters evokes a genuine passion for the English language and all of its oddities. As a slapdash student turned English advocate that has risen to the top of an AP language course, I personally attest to Ms. Peters' course as being my inspiration and the framework that has enabled my current academic prosperity. Whilst choosing a mere 500 words to describe someone who has had such a profound impact on my life was challenging in itself, articulating who Ms. Peters is, not solely within the confines of her classroom, but as a person, is something that could not be done accurately except through extensive discourse in a reminiscent manner after years spent merely enjoying the company of such an incredible individual. When I look back at such fond memories as sitting in her classroom discussing double entendres, I am reminded of how lucky I am to have spent even a fraction of my time as her apprentice. As a physical embodiment of the quote by artistic revolutionary Jim Henson that reads, "Kids don't always remember what you teach them, they remember who you are." Devoted and passionate mentor, Pamela Peters is someone who has touched not only my life, but the lives of many in what has become her daily routine. It is as aforementioned in accordance with the number of outside reasons that Ms. Peters is someone that I not only admire and appreciate, but truly cherish. And I sincerely thank you.
Oh. Upon leaving junior high school and entering high school, I was struck with the dilemma of continuing my musical education. I was in band and played the clarinet for 5 years up to that point. There were many years and effort I had put into learning all about music, and while considering the consequences of ending what was the only unique talent I obtained, I decided to go on and continue band in high school. The decision was one that I will never regret. My spontaneous decision to continue a passion had not only allowed me to meet some of the best people I have ever met, but had allowed me to be taught by the best teacher and constructor anyone could wish to ask for. Good teachers teach what needs to be taught. Mr. P was more than a good teacher, he was a great one. His directives and lectures were entwined with life lessons and ideas that made his students think beyond the present. He taught more than what a simple rhythm or a simple scale is. Notes and arpeggios were not the basis of curriculum, for most of us knew what these theoretical and logistical terms meant. It was the way he allowed students to understand expression and how expression can be achieved through music. He allowed us to recognize that music was an emotion and a feeling. It can create moments and memories that will last a lifetime. During the marching band season especially, times can get tough. Some things don't work, some people get angry, some just want to quit and give up overall. It was Mr. P that made me realize that the marching band and music experience was not in fact about the wins, but about the trials and tribulations that are endured. It is during these trials and tribulations where we become stronger as a unit. He is always the one to enforce unity and promote the "we are one" idea. His positive enforcement and desire to make everything fun was what gave us our name. We are known as the fun band that always does the cool shows while competing, and all the credit belongs to him. I am glad that I have him as an instructor because he knows how to create a show that will provide a fun and joyful experience for all of us. When I look back on past seasons, it is not the ones that I remember because winning was not the main goal that Mr. P enforced. He would make clear that the main goal was to always have fun and make an impact. He would never fail to make rehearsals exciting, yet also allow us to get a lot of practice done. Practice makes permanent, he would say, for he was not a believer in perfect, and neither was I. I learned from him that there was no such thing as a perfect band, but there was such thing as a great band, and we all had the potential to be one. He would call us a band of moments because that was what we were. We created moments throughout the season that none of us will ever forget, and it was thanks to his encouragement. I feel that the lessons I have learned from Mr. P have helped me grow as a person and will stay with me in the future long after I leave high school. The influence that he and band has had on me shaped me as who I am, what I believe in, and what I fight for. Because of that, Mr. Pitlick is undoubtedly my favorite teacher.
And fantastic teachers, like amazing. It's just so, like I said, could you imagine reading any of these? It was tough. But, ladies and gentlemen, your Barnes & Noble 2015 Teacher of the Year and winning essay writer, Tony Rodriguez and Mr. Callenborn. You will come up here. You will come up. You gonna read it?
This is Mr. Callenborn.
Thanks, Tony.
How many of your AP teachers would throw parties every other week? How many of your AP teachers ask you for your opinion on the lesson plan should be for the day? Mr. Callenborn is phenomenal at what he does. He brings a sense of humor into an AP classroom that some teachers cannot. He relates with the students as if he was your friend. Many AP teachers in today's society are very strict and push students too far, causing them stress and to lose focus in the goal of higher level education. Mr. Callenborn, an AP language and composition educator, is by far my favorite teacher I've ever had throughout my years of being a student. Mr. Callenborn takes pride in what he does. He does not simply teach for the paycheck, but to help students absorb knowledge and to look at life in different perspectives. He teaches us that there's more to life after high school, and he inspires students to make something of it. Mr. Callenborn also understands the minds of the students. He understands that some students are going through problems, whether it be at home or with another challenging course. And he does what he can do to help. My first semester of junior year, I had been in the hospital for 3.5 weeks due to a serious viral infection in my throat. Having missed the first 3 weeks of school, I resumed my junior year education with 3.5 weeks of AP Physics, AP US History, and AP Language and Composition schoolwork I had missed. The day I came back, Mr. Callenborn had brought me into the hall asking if I was okay and how my current situation was. And me being a 6'1" male, pretty big guy, I couldn't do anything but break down. I broke down in front of my teacher. Mr. Callenborn had helped guide me to success. He gave me every opportunity to kick up my grade and for me to become successful. As other AP teachers told me to open a book to catch up, Mr. Callenborn set up conferences between him and I to help raise my grade and relieve some of the stress of my life. When it's not Mr. Callenborn and I, but a full classroom, he teaches us to become a better person. He helps achieve success in writing college-level essays and prepares us in every way to become successful on the AP exam. Words can't describe my appreciation for Mr. Callenborn. He helped me in ways my own family couldn't. Of course, I can never tell them this in person, but I looked up to him as a role model. I want to teach his class when I'm older. I want to inspire students like he inspired me. I want to be a Mr. Callenborn. Thank you.
Here's your gift cards, guys. Here's your good house. Congratulations. For the future, you're welcome. Oh, your certificates.